A picture is worth 1,000 words. That's the approach taken in the new book, Cincinnati, an Illustrated Timeline. And joining me now is author Jeff Suess to talk about the history that can be learned from these one-of-a-kind photographs. And Jeff, thanks so much for joining us. I have to say, 230 years, that sounds like a real daunting task. Many of the photos that you feature in this book also came from the Inquirer archives. There's so many moments, so many photographs. It must have been really hard to go through these and figure out the right ones to pick.
Yeah, that was a daunting task. I went through hundreds and hundreds of photos, and even in the final days, I had to pull down from 500 or 600 photos down to just about 350 or so. And kind of represent, some things visually are hard to tell because you don't have a lot of old images.
All right. What prompted you to want to put together this compendium?
Well, the publisher had asked me about doing a project with them, and I'd been wanting to tell a kind of a history of Cincinnati. You can connect some of the old parts of the city to the current parts that we don't always make that connection. You see how old Procter & Gamble is, and the heyday of the Queen City in the 1800s, how that's still relevant now. And I felt like a timeline, especially a visual timeline, where you can kind of flip back and forth and see the visual connections of things that are still around, and really how important Cincinnati was at one time.
Yeah, when you saw these connections, is it something that you set out to seek in these photographs, or is it something that just kind of revealed itself to you as you looked at the photographs?
A little of both. There are a few connections you kind of wanted to make, how the city evolved from having hills and people having to get out of the hills to move on, which made neighborhoods move, and you see the architecture change in those times. So some of that reveal itself in research. Some of it are things you're like, yes, I would like to point that out. I mean, I've been writing about Cincinnati history for a few years and have gotten a lot of insights into like how the city evolved, and I kind of wanted to be able to portray that.
Yeah, was there any particular series of photographs or single photographs that stuck out for you where you went, wow, I have to include that?
Well, one of my favorites is the old daguerreotype of Cincinnati in the, I forget the year now, 1840s, I think. And it's the first photo, really, of a major American city. And the public library has it, and it's this really long. There's like 8 different frames of it, and the detail that you can see, because the technology for the daguerreotypes is really fine, that they can actually zoom in and see the time on the clocks on the and to be able to see parts of the city. I mean, most of that is gone. There's nothing left of other than a handful of buildings. So that's a real insight to what the city was like at one point.
All right, Jeff, and I suppose this book can be can be purchased at the regular outlets? Yeah,
regular bookstores, and I've been to several of the stores, and I know it's hard to social distancing and things like that, but it's out there, and so hope people can find it, connect to it.
All right, Jeff Suess, thank you so much for joining us and talking about this new book that you've put together, Cincinnati, an Illustrated Timeline.
Thank you.